the mind is a living technology, as we've been explaining this in all of our EDM yoga classes over the years, and really allowing ourselves to see it, feel it, taste it, touch it in such a dynamic way and to understand it from our human mind perspective, but also to tap into the remembrance of the truest inner knowing that this is what we've always known, and we are just waking up to remember all of this. That's why it all feels so familiar, because it's just a remembrance. So, every single ancient text from the Bhagavad Gita to the Mahabharata to the Yoga Sutras, literally the Bible, literally everything points back to this divine inner knowing that everything is connected and there is no such thing as separation. We are all truly connected in a way that we can barely even begin to understand. We are all exactly the same, all living beings everywhere. It is such a magnetic field of consciousness. And we understand this because literally across time and spiritual lineages, these lineages have never come into contact with each other, but we all describe the same truth of unconditional love, interconnectedness, intelligence beyond our individual minds. Like, none of this is because my individual mind has thought of it. It's such a mass collective consciousness, all of the things that I've learned from the teachers that I've had who have come before me, and the direct guidance that I've had from universal source, infinite intelligence. And it's all just the field of guidance, right? Different words, same frequency. Call it whatever you want, but it's about understanding that we all have access because we all are the universe manifested into physical form. We are divine creator beings, and we have so much capacity to direct energy and align with the creation that we believe is going to be the highest and greatest good for all. And that's truly what we're all here for. We wonder, like, what is my purpose? I remember, like, really early in my spiritual journeys thinking about, like, well, what even is my purpose? Right? And what I've come to find is that it is all of our purpose to release our unconscious conditioning, free ourselves from fear, and come back to our truest essence, our soul perspective, our inner knowing. And that's literally what every single text says. You can look at all of them and you will root back to this exact same truth. So, the Wi-Fi, the wonderful infinite free intelligence, is always broadcasting and it's always available. And the password for our lineage, and all of this is just like fun, super sparkly, like magnetic ways to explain things. And I think what happened was that all of these different lineages started explaining things, but they didn't really have language to describe something that's indescribable, which is that the nature of reality is just absolutely beyond beautiful and love-based, that they were only using words to describe what they were doing around those times, which is why it's so beautiful that we have Sanskrit and we have things like the branches of avidya and vidya, because those terminology, those words, that language started to give us the ability to scratch the surface of what's actually going on here, but truly, words cannot even explain it. Like, it's so much bigger than the language, and it's a felt feeling, and I know you guys all feel it. And let's just put our hands on our heart and just tap into the Wi-Fi, breathing in infinitely now, breathing out on universal time, sensing the quantum massive and also multi-dimensional micro macro cosmic nature of the reality that we live in that is so indescribable that even trying to describe it distorts it because it's coming through humanness filters, but we feel it and we sense it and we know it to be true. And we can log in and access this Wi-Fi network, the mycelium network, through just being present in the moment. And that's the beauty of being physical. Like we live in this dynamic multiverse that we really don't understand at all whatsoever. And we're trying our best to put language to it. But now that we have technology, we can actually explain the workings of the mind through technology, which is so incredibly powerful because this is a time on our planet where we need this the most. We have gotten ourselves into such a crazy predicament on Earth at this time. And we'll talk more about the one formula for everything and how this all ends up being just this beautiful story from a massive detour into fear to an energetic remembrance of who we really are in our love-based reality. And what we do at EDM Yoga and EDM Breathwork is clear the humanness filter, clear the unconscious conditioning through the power of breath as sacred technology, literally to recode the entire nervous system, the body mind system, and get a better signal so we can connect to the Wi-Fi so that we can translate the vibration in the most clear way possible. So this is my personal translation of the energy that I've been receiving through universal source energy of my own lineage. And this is our lineage. This is our energetic lineage of souls who we have created this plan before we have come here. And we are all waking up and remembering and healing together through connection to the universal source Wi-Fi. So obviously, we get a clear signal when our nervous systems are regulated, when we have an open heart, when our breath is conscious, when we're in witness awareness, when we're living that soul perspective life, right? You know when you feel good and everything just falls into place because you're connected to the Wi-Fi. Your angels and ancestors are just dropping everything right into your lap at the right moments. You're in the right place at the right time. Your Wi-Fi connection is strong AF. When we have a blocked signal, when we're in fear, when we're overactive and really trying to protect ourselves, when we're living in our past identity and we're in survival mode, we do not have access to the Wi-Fi, right? So there's a level of that moment of awareness, right, that now we have, and we're like, oh, I am definitely not connected to the Wi-Fi right now. I am not feeling good, and we come home to ourselves. We place one hand on our heart, one hand on our belly, and we feel, oh, I'm feeling a lot of human emotion. Okay, all parts are welcome. Let's tap into the Wi-Fi together. In infinitely now, out on universal time. And then you can have that conversation with yourself, with your soul perspective, with your guides of the highest truth and compassion, and realign and ground into the present moment where all of your power lives, right? Because when we're worried about the future, we're literally in anxiety. And when we're stuck freaking out and replaying the past, we get depressed because it feels lethargic, it feels heavy, it's tamas energy. And so the language around this that yoga gives us is so beautiful because we can really identify these places where we're at when we're in ragas and we're in tamas. Can we become more sattvic? Just like we were talking about in previous calls. So when you understand how to use technology, it's amazing, right? If you prompt AI well, you will get the gold, right? Like you will immediately manifest exactly what you need. If you're an iPhone and you have no Wi-Fi, you're fucked. You literally can't get anything done. Like it's just how it works, right? So it's like if you understand technology, if you are willing and able to tap into the technology that is you and to fully and completely understand it, right? It's one thing to know it on a head level, right? We've been talking about the brain and how breath work and all of these things impact literally our physiology, when we can get into the energy of that svadhyaya, understanding, deeply studying witness consciousness, that's when we can now update our software. And the acronym for update software is it's universal preparation. We're downloading aligned, thoughtful energy. And our software is source optimized for therapeutic, wonderful, aligned, regulated energy. Now, this is the positive polarity. Remember, every subject is two subjects, so there's a negative polarity and a positive polarity. We want to update our software in the positive polarity because our mind is technology and what's programmed can be upgraded. But a lot of times, what we've had programmed and what has been programmed for us by those who have come before us is not in vibrational alignment with unconditional love. And we feel that as fear, and we feel it in our body, and we store it and we program it because we're trying to keep ourselves safe. So, the algorithmic nature of the mind is one of my favorite things ever because you have to train it. The same way that you train your Instagram algorithm, you see all the things that you love on your Instagram now because you've been in my containers before and we've talked about this. Like, don't look at the things that you don't want. Really organize everything to make it be all the things that you love. And you guys are even creating the most beautiful content ever. I absolutely love seeing you guys living the practice and sharing it. And so, what we're focusing on is expanding. We're getting more of what we feel. We feel good. We're getting more of what we expect. We expect to see beautiful, bountiful blessings. We expect to see miracles because we know that we're a vibrational match to the miracles. So we're always getting more of what we like, comment, and subscribe to. And it's that consistent liking, commenting, and subscribing to these powerful, beautiful, true soul perspective thought patterns versus fear-based virus thoughts. So we have this awareness around how our attention plus our emotion equals programming. So when we're aware of something that's happening and our attention is on something that's happening, and we feel a very powerful emotion, that is the most strong indicator for what will then be programmed into our mind body system, right? We store issues in our tissues. We hold a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the brain, like we talked about in the pranayama science of the brain video. And this is a really heavy topic and subject because when we're in traumatic experiences and our attention and our emotion are so strongly focused on really scary survival based things, even if it's little t trauma where it's like you feel like maybe someone in the group is like upset with you, right? That is a life or death situation for our ancestors. And so that literally activates the sympathetic nervous system and puts us into fear and then creates more misperception, avidya. And we're going to get into the whole avidya aspect of this, but avidya is incorrect comprehension, which is essentially your virus thoughts. And the virus thoughts are fear-coded programs. These are the stories that we're telling ourselves. I'm not enough. There's never enough. I'm not going to be able to figure this out. I'm just this way. They're trauma installed, they're survival based. And remember, polarity. There's the old and then there's original. So when you're hearing yourself saying these things, an example of this is like when I was sick and I was just like, I just don't feel well. I don't want to feel like this. I just don't feel well, right? Seeing that, and instead of being like, this is a virus thought. Why are you telling the story that you don't feel well? You should be telling the story that you're having a healing. Come on, you know better than this. Instead of going into that loop, we come home to ourselves. And what do you do with the virus? You help it heal. You don't demonize it and say that it's bad and try and kill it. You let yourself rest. And when we rest and we take really good care of ourselves, that's when we heal. So it's about remembering our truest essence of security and saying, I am safe now. I can choose again. My body is in the present. Safety is that new code that is being installed, and the alignment is upgrading us. So, this is the 4D doorway to awaken to the truth that we are literally physical matter that's made from the same beautiful, infinitely intelligent, universal source energy as all of nature. And nature doesn't hurry, right? But everything's accomplished. And all of these beautiful understandings from the ancient sages who are always talking about don't feel like you have to strive. Don't be greedy. Like it's written everywhere around so many different ego-based patterns of fear where we've literally created a society for ourselves just based on ego consciousness. Every system that is full of distortion, we have a political system that is just two wings of a very ill virus coded bird that it's just absolutely incredible to see what has been created through the workings of the human mind because of all of the open tabs that we have inside of ourselves and at mass consciousness scale. So think about all of the tabs in your mind, unfinished conversations, old relationship stories, childhood wounds, future worries, identity questions, like decisions that are waiting to be made. All of these are tabs in our minds that are open. And if we don't close out the tabs with the practice of yoga and breath work, we are SOL. We're shit out of luck because all of our prana, all of our life force is going to the distorted, fear-based, programmed patterns that we've learned from the unhealed society that has raised us. But now we're waking up and we're like, oh, okay, I can understand the concept of closing out these tabs. When I drop into my meditation practice, when I drop into my breathwork practice, that is when I can actually listen to whatever's going on in these tabs, see what's happening, close out things that are unnecessary, that are leaking energy unconsciously. We're unconsciously leaking energy, right? So I want you to take a moment right now in your journal and just write down anything that you have going on that pertains to any one of these categories. Unfinished conversations, old relationship stories, childhood wounds, future worries, identity questions, and decisions waiting to be made. And because you're writing it out, and if you're watching the recording, you can pause this video and literally take some time, put on some healing frequencies, and sit with yourself and really look at and svadhyaya, self-study these open tabs that we have running because they are running unconsciously and they're taking up so much bandwidth. They're taking up so much of our prana, our life force energy. And if we can just look at them and see them for what they are, we can stop running that program, that fear-based pattern. We can stop liking, commenting, and subscribing to these thoughts that we don't want to be having, these literal virus thoughts, these unfinished things that are just open as tabs in our mind. We can consciously look at them, love the shit out of them because all of these things are here to literally try and keep ourselves safe. And they've been keeping us safe for so long. But what has happened is now we've manifested ourselves into the most divine possible case scenario safety, even as a collective. If you think about it, when we were building out our societies, we were trying to protect our borders. We were trying to keep ourselves safe. We were trying to build structures that we could live in. Like, really think about that. And the ego just went wild and started just creating all of these structures and all of these things to try and keep itself safe. But in an effort of keeping itself safe, it did survive, but now we're at a place where we are unable to truly thrive because we've forgotten that we're all connected. We've completely forgotten that we are all one. We are all inextricably linked. We are all together. And all of these things that you're writing down right now as your unfinished business, as your open tabs, they are all rooted in separation. Every single one of these things is rooted in separation and fear. Fear around how others perceive us and how safe we are in any given moment. So we get to open up these trauma tabs and see them for what they are so that instead of continuing to play out these fearful energetics in our mind body system and project active vibrations of our past onto our present, which then creates more of that in our future, we can choose to see these protection mechanisms for what they really are and give ourselves the deep rest that we need because this projection that we're literally believing in, we're essentially believing in realities that we do not prefer and playing out the worst case scenarios on a daily basis to try and keep ourselves safe. And I've been living this practice and doing this work for over a decade, and I'm still finding myself with open trauma loop tabs every single day. And it's a matter of meeting ourselves there and think of it as an online shopping experience. I coined the term the coded cookies of consciousness because literally it's a coded cookie cache that's going on every single time you enter one of those tabs in your mind. So you open up the relationship tab, and maybe you have a very specific list of problems that you have with your partner. And all of those basically concerns, things that you don't like, are all sitting in your shopping cart on your relationship tab. And so maybe things are even good in your relationship. And this doesn't just go for you, it goes for your client. So this is like how you can speak to your clients about these things that are coming up in the tabs of their lives and also look at your own tabs in your life. You're coming from this place of being like, I see you because I am you, and this is an experience that we all have. So basically, with that relationship scenario, it's like everything's fine, but there's in the background all of these unconscious, fear-based stories and just little things that maybe we don't like that we feel like could be a problem. And especially if we have abandonment issues, we can tend to, even if something small happens, we can immediately go right in and open that tab. And now we have a shopping cart full of all of the things that we do not like about said relationship or said tab, said situation, job, anything, any tab. And we automatically, if we are asleep, if we are in avidya, misperception, comprehending things from our ego, from our fear-based perspective, we're sleepy, sleepy, sleepy kitty cats. We just hit buy, and the next thing you know, that shit shows up at our doorstep because we are unconsciously liking, commenting, subscribing to, and buying into the fears of our past. And this goes for even if there are things that you had happened to you in a previous relationship. Those things from the previous relationship will still be stored in the relationship cart. This is huge because a lot of times in the present, we're actually not manifesting the fear-based things that we've had in our past because we have done a lot of work to clear that. But all it takes is a sleepless night and a little extra work on our plate to provoke fear inside of us, and we will automatically assume the worst case scenarios about everything to try and keep ourselves safe. And so it's about witnessing what are the coded cookies that I have stored in this tab? Do they even have any relevance to this particular situation that I'm experiencing right now? Because most likely these are stored and these are memories and samskaras, right? Our energetic emotional imprints. Maybe not even our own. Maybe from our parents, maybe from seeing things on TV, from witnessing other people's stories, just stories and understandings about this particular tab that we've collected as anecdotal evidence and have chosen to see as truth, lowercase t truth, and that we're literally believing and buying into from moment to moment. So we have the power to give ourselves the opportunity to see what's really, really going on here. And this is my favorite thing ever because this is the language that allows us to really explain the workings of the mind. This is language that is so freaking old, like more than literally 5,000 years old type language in Sanskrit that allows us to really understand this. Jordanelle, I love you so much. Thank you, beauty. So the Kleshas. The Kleshas, there's the 5 Kleshas, and it's all the way down here. So it's from the incorrect comprehension, which is avidya, to ego identification, to fear, to aversion, rejection, or clinging attachment. So basically, the way that this works is everything has polarity and everything has multiple dimensional planes inside of it. It is a gross simplification to bring it down just to this, because this is like not even scratching the surface to how much nuance there is inside of this. But for our perfect little princess human brains, we're going to think about it in this way. So basically what happens is something happens and you open up a fear-based tab in your mind. And you then access your ego. And your ego, Asmita, is the part of you that wants to protect you and keep you safe. And so if we buy into that fear and tap into our ego's Wi-Fi, the field of ego, the field of fear is real. And of course, the miracles would say, no, it's an illusion, it's not real. But you can see it manifesting. And we personally, as New Earth leaders, right, we believe in only focusing on the highest good, but there is a level of physicality that we need to be grounded in to understand why everything is happening the way that it's happening. And it is because you're either tapped into the universal source Wi-Fi or you're tapped into the fear Wi-Fi. And you're downloading fear-based stories from the collective unconscious when we are in fear, right? You are attracting whatever you're a vibrational match to. So you're either a vibrational match to infinite intelligence and divine love, and you're downloading positive affirmations and security thoughts and codes of consciousness that will get you to where you need to go for your soul's evolution, or you're tapped into a fear-based ego Wi-Fi situation where it's virus thoughts and you are feeling the fears of others. My Wi-Fi just died. How amazing. I'm literally blown away. I'm over the moon, blown away. I connected to a personal hotspot. So I think the teaching is if you feel like you're stuck in a place where you're surrounded by people and you're downloading all of their crazy crap bullshit, and you can literally dial in and make your own personal hotspot and realign to universal source energy. So we are on the vibing is vibing personal hotspot. It's 345 backwards energy. And universal source is always guiding and always listening. So it's when you're in those moments of like, we're all gonna die energy, literally, like your internet crashes and you're in a really big thing, you just say, personal hotspot, what's up? What's up? Okay. Let's reshare. Am I not, I'm not sharing anymore, am I? Full screen now? Yeah, amazing. So it's this idea of like, we can make it work. Like, we can literally make anything work. It's all about being in that open energy, open to receiving energy. So we come from this place of fear identification. And then from there, we go into raga, which is fear that leads to either rejection or attachment. So remember, we talked about tamas and ragas, and this is the energy that literally distorts everything in the world and is why we have two extreme sides in our government and why every single minor detail feels earth shattering to us at times. And so when we are living in contraction and distortion, right, we're misunderstanding reality. We're confusing our ego for our soul, right? So either you're living from your ego perspective and you're trying to protect yourself and keep yourself safe and you're seeing yourself as separate from everyone else, or you are identifying with your soul perspective, which your soul perspective knows that it's part of the infinitely expansive, beautiful, divinely guided, infinitely intelligent multiverse, right? Which is two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And the gross simplification is fear, love. So you can see here how this plays out in all of the dimensional planes, and it all works in the one formula for everything. Because as humans, this is a massive play. This is God's plan for humanity and for our understanding that we are all fractal pieces of the same thing. And the only way that we can come to our divine conclusions is through svadhyaya, our self-study, where we are recognizing these patterns and we're awakening to the truth. So instead of believing and feeling stuck in the story, we're becoming empowered. We're conscious of our ego. We're like, oh, thank you, my ego alarm bell, for keeping me safe. You guys can watch the and do the, I think it must be labeled as a branches of a video or something like that inside of the EDM Yoga portal, because I did a whole class on really feeling that energy and allowing yourself to choose the soul concept and move through the frequency of the ego perspective by being like, understanding that that part of you that's pulling on the side of your leg, being like, Christina, we have a problem, is just the alarm bell. And when we can notice the alarm bell, and put out the fire from a regulated place, everything's fine. So now desire is guidance. I know what I don't want, so now I know what I do want. Now I can take aligned action and I can use my healthy passion and motivation to be able to do the things that I want to do. Emotional resilience, the ability to face the shadow, choosing expansion. And you know what just came to mind too is like in the collective consciousness, how important it is the way that you guys were here, right? You're here, and that is why the Zoom continued to go on. Whereas if I was doing a Zoom just to record basically for the course or something and my Wi-Fi went out, the Zoom would just collapse and it would be no more. But because you guys were here holding the frequency, the Zoom continued to hold the container. And it's the same thing with our desire for all of the things that we want to do. When we are in community of people who love us and care about us and want us to succeed and be successful, it's that we're holding this group container and everything is possible because we're all here together. And if one of us detours into fear, it's okay because the rest of the group is holding the container. And then the one who detoured into fear can come back, right? It's this divine soul family that we come here in clusters. And we came here in a cluster together to be able to expedite the evolution of consciousness by just waking up and remembering all of these truths. So we surrender and we trust in life and we have nervous system coherence because we know that we're not in it alone. We don't have to do this alone. And that is what takes us from feeling like we're in full separation, like we're alone, to being united in clarity and waking up to the idea that we're not alone, and then completely dissolving into our soul perspective, unity consciousness, in our 5D ultimate new earth frequency, where there's non-attachment, where it's effortless manifestation, where we're not missing anything, where there's radical acceptance, fearlessness, we have courage, we have unconditional love. We know that this is just one tiny, tiny, tiny chapter on our soul's timeline. Like this body, this life, this state of world affairs is the tiniest little day on the soul's full journey, which then brings us to understanding these in terms of the tabs of the mind. So we get the root glitch tab, right? And our root is our root chakra, Muladhara, is the energy of safety and security, right? So if there's a glitch in the root, we then open the survival tab, which then makes us open the identity tab. So instead of worrying about who am I, right? Who am I? Who's my soul perspective? Why am I here? How can I be of service? We collapse into worrying about what other people think about us. And the second we collapse into worrying about what other people think about us, we get into that identity tab. And we're over identifying with roles, with labels, with our personality, with our wounds, with just who we are because of everything that's been programmed within us. Then, which opens the craving tab. Now we're chasing outcomes. We're needing external things to be okay, and we only have conditional happiness. If this happens, then I'll be happy. If X result comes out, then I'll be happy. That is stealing our true nature, which is present moment awareness, unconditional love, safety, security, knowing that we don't have to hoard our money. We don't have to hoard everything that we have. We don't need to overconsume. We're perfect the way that we are. We don't need to reach for things outside of us in order for us to be safe and to be happy. But when we do that, we want to avoid discomfort at all costs. So resisting discomfort, pushing away emotions, fear of certain experiences. Take a moment right now and go back to those tabs and see if you can kind of identify where each of the things that you've pulled out land. Is it a survival tab? Is it an identity wound? Is it craving? Is it avoidance? And recognizing and seeing that as your nervous system pattern, and knowing that in order to heal a virus, we must rest and we must take care of ourselves. Not pushing against it, but just seeing it for what it is and regulating within it. So, our low grade anxiety and existential tension all comes from that strong pattern of all of the tabs that are open that we're not looking at. They're just open, running in the background. And then you have this beautiful, glamorous tab that's like about building your business and helping people. And it's Canva in the positive polarity. But you have all of these fear-based tabs running in the background. And once you open that beautiful portal tab, there are things that you won't be able to do as well, or maybe procrastination that shows up around it, or fear that shows up around it, or anxiety that shows around it, or overworking, hypervigilance, control, rigidity, defensiveness, agitation, grasping. I need them to sign up for my program. I'm bracing, I'm contracting because we have all of these other tabs that we haven't looked at that are grabbing all of our energy and taking it away from us. So it's about bringing consciousness to the table, bringing your soul perspective to the table and being like, let's look at this with love so that it can heal, right? If you get into an accident and you break your arm, are you going to just be like, oh, I'm just going to leave the pavement in there. I'm not going to put the bone back into where it's supposed to go. I'm just going to meditate about it and do affirmations and I should be good. No, you are going to have the best possible case scenario treatment and care because we want to make sure that everything is put back together and it's clean and it's vibrationally aligned. So we have to look at it, be with it, study it, clean it, and allow it to heal, allow it to rest, allow yourself to rest. Because if we just continue to overwork and try and overproduce, we are burning ourselves out. So a lot of my practice has been, wait, I feel like I have to do all of these things, but actually what I really have to do is my practice. I need to be doing EDM breathwork. I need to be doing EDM yoga. And from that place of sitting down, being with those parts of myself, clearing the tabs, having deep conversations with every single part, and doing this work, presence, breath, remembering connection to universal source Wi-Fi, deep safety, slow breaths, witness consciousness. I am aware of this. Therefore, I am not only this. These codes and this method works. And we are the living, breathing proof of this because the fear, uncertainty, doubt, the ego identity that I have been in for my entire life, that we all experience, it was so strong and it felt so intense. And the survival, the identity, the craving, the avoidance, all of it, right? It was all an opportunity to have deeper love and deeper compassion for myself, which has now given me the understanding of all of this at such a deep level that I would never be able to explain in this way. And I'm barely even beginning to scratch the surface on the true depth of what all of this even really means. So it's about having gratitude, having that enoughness, the returning to the now moment and being like everything is beautiful and perfect as it is. And from this place of being regulated and knowing that it's perfect as it is, now I can take action on the things that I want to do. And I have this beautiful tab open for this soul mission plan, this beautiful collective consciousness, nervous system democratization plan can now manifest into form because I'm actively making a conscious decision to close the fear-based tabs, to not buy into the fear-based coded cookies and have them showing up at my door every day. Instead, we're ordering love-based coconut water and it's showing up to our door and our dogs are freaking out. So, all good things. So now we can see this beautiful process of literally the one formula for everything because it's not a closed system, fam. It's all the fucking same thing, literally. The way the day works, the way the moon cycle works, the way the seasons work, it is all exactly the same. It all follows this exact same formula. Isn't that absolutely bonkers? And it gives you the opportunity to really see what has happened in our society and how everything is playing out the way that it is, right? Because we've gone through this so many times on a personal level, and this time I want to just like dial this in really beautifully to the collective level because when we understand ourselves, we can understand the world at large in a really deep, meaningful way. And when we can understand the world at large and we can stop judging and entangling and being part of the problem, we can start being part of the solution. So, the core process here is that we're in a pattern and we don't even know it. We're thinking a thought that doesn't feel good. We're telling the story of what we don't want. We're in the shadow frequency. It's the news. It's the old, obsolete lack dimension. It is the time of day where it is the darkest before the sun rises. It is a state of deep suffering, and it's winter. For our moon cycle, this is when we're bleeding. It's it's complete and total darkness, shadow, asleep. We're asleep. We literally have no idea what is going on. And we're just acting out of all of our fear based tabs. Everything that we've learned is just playing out subconsciously. From there, because we're in so much pain and suffering, and all the ancient texts say this, is you get to a point of such deep suffering that you can't handle it anymore, and then you're forced to wake up. So that's like the moment where, like the dark night of the soul, where you completely hit rock bottom, and then you have to wake up, and you can witness then from your soul's awareness. And now we're going into the positive polarity of the 3D. So remember, there's the old and then there's original. So from there, now the sun starts to rise and we can start to see, like, it's not completely dark, but it's not completely light. It's the space is starting to warm up. We're starting to bloom again. It's springtime. We've Maybe we're still having like a lot of rain that's going on, but we know that the rain that's happening is watering and it's allowing us to create new growth, right? So this is primarily where we stand as a collective right now. I would say a lot of people have hit rock bottom and they realize, like, I really need to change the way that I'm living my life. And that's why it's so important that we're here having conversations like this, and all of you guys hosting your containers the way that you are, coaching your clients, because now more than ever, we need people who are ready to hold the frequency and be the loving awareness around all of the crazy crap that's going on in the world, right? So we have the awareness, and we'll go deeper into the elemental cycle and all of the doshas in an Ayurvedic call coming up. But basically, Vata is wind, Kapha is earth and muddy energy, Pitta is fire. And so what we want to do is we always want to be balancing all of our doshas. So if we tend to be very pitta, we're very fiery, we have a lot of energy. It's really good to ground that energy, root into the earth, like get in the grass and really feel the earth to root. And then also balancing ourselves out with things like coconut water for your pitta girly who definitely needs cooling energy, right? So we're all about balance, and we want to notice where we're at right now. We're in the mud, right? Because it's earth and it's raining and there's storms happening everywhere you look on the news, all of the things. It's muddy. And right, it's like the lotus frequency. It's in the mud, and we're waking up and we're going to rise like the lotus and be able to bloom from this awareness and this understanding. So we've been studying it, we're observing it, and the negative polarity is that we basically force it in the negative polarity and we crash. We forget our resources and crash energetically, negative polarity of force. The positive polarity of force is that may the force be with you. It's life force energy. It's expansion, it's alignment, right? So there's this moment of adjustment that needs to happen, right? There's maybe a crash, another situation that happens that gets us all to just wake up inside of the pattern. And it's levels of this, and it's a continuum. So it's like not like we're going to just go completely perfectly in order like this. It's going to be like we're here, we're there, we're here, we're there. It's going back and forth. It's like the stock market. It like slowly trends upwards over time, but there are big dips that happen. And so It's about just noticing, and I'm going to kind of rush through this because we're almost out of time, but I'm going to bring this back in and we're going to do more with this exact formula in the coming weeks. So we have the aligned action energy. We know that we can use positive life force energy. And this is when now the sun is in the highest it is in the sky in the 4D. And that's when we can see the best. It's when we have the most energy. It's when we have the most digestive fire. So the biggest meal that we want to have during the day is between that beautiful 10 and 2 time where the sun is the highest and the digestive fire is the highest. It's full activation. It's summer. It's ovulation. It's where we have the most energy to make the most change. And that it's very much giving that like fire horse energy where we have the energy to make the change. And we can see things fully and clearly, and we can take that divine aligned action from a place of integrity and soul perspective. And then we go into the negative polarity of the 5D, which is the integration mode. So now we're in a new level. We've just completely like jumped timelines into a new level of being, which is exactly how I'm feeling right now as we're preparing for Envision, is like, okay, I've been holding the frequency for this manifestation of doing breath work on main stages for so long, but I've never actually done it. And so now it's like this newness, turbulence of like, okay, I'm now in this situation, and now I need to find my calm and be able to assimilate into this new reality, this new timeline, right? So it's like whenever you or your client jump into it's a new job, it's a new relationship, it's a new whatever, there's this moment of integration and allowing that needs to happen so that we can calibrate into that new frequency. And then in the 5D positive polarity, it's the now reality, knowing that in every single moment we can choose to tap into the Wi-Fi and get into unity consciousness and be in our soul perspective and be aligned within all three doshas, to be dosha and to feel deep renewal and subconscious cleanup, all phases, all seasons, all timelines. And so now I want to open up for questions with you guys.